In Côte d'Ivoire, as in many coastal countries, the effects of climate change are becoming more tangible every day. Unpredictable rainfall, accelerated land degradation, and recurring floods. These pressures weaken farms and jeopardize the food security of vulnerable populations. Faced with these challenges related to climate change, a new wave of cooperation has been strengthened thanks to the support of the Government of Quebec. Following Senegal and Haiti, Côte d'Ivoire is joining the second phase of the Food Security and Agriculture, Accelerated Adaptation SAGA 2 project, an ambitious initiative implemented by the FAO, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, with technical and financial support from Quebec.
La FAO, nous sommes en Côte d'Ivoire pour faire avancer l'agenda du gouvernement.
We are in Côte d'Ivoire to advance the government's agenda. As you can see behind me, there is soil degradation, which is a major problem in Côte d'Ivoire. But we also have deforestation, which is linked to the impacts of intensive agriculture.
Donc, l'arrivée de Québec, le financement de Québec est très, très important.
Therefore, funding from Quebec is very important to support the government in improving soil quality and also in restoring forests. So this is truly an opportunity that is greatly appreciated, not only by the FAO, but also by the Ivorian government and the population.
Et la population.
La Côte d'Ivoire est l'une des économies les plus dynamiques du continent africain.
Côte d'Ivoire is one of the most dynamic economies in the African continent. Its agriculture is a key pillar. However, as has been observed on the ground, Côte d'Ivoire remains highly vulnerable to the effect of climate change. It is in this context that the Government of Quebec, with the support and recommendations of the Quebec office in Côte d'Ivoire, selected the country as a partner for the second phase of the SAGA 2 project.
SAGA 2, c'est aussi un projet qui est ambitieux.
SAGA 2 is also an ambitious project that aims to strengthen climate governance, provide practical tools to producers, and develop partnership between Quebec and local stakeholders until 2027. The SAGA 2 project is based on a strong partnership between the FAO, Côte d'Ivoire, and Quebec to accelerate agricultural adaptation and strengthen food security. At the heart of this dynamic, the development and implementation of the adaptation policies and strategies are essential. According to Aunt Patricia Adiko, Director of Climate Change and Ecological Transition, the SAGA 2 project is perfectly aligned with national adaptation priorities.
Il faut dire que le projet SAGA 2 a joué un rôle.
It must be said that the SAGA 2 project played a key role in finalizing this contribution of terminals at the national level 3.0 and also in validating its investment plan. This also involved all stakeholders to ensure a participatory approach. It must be said that still on the political level, SAGA 2 facilitates access to climate finance and of course supports the development of two priority projects stemming from the National Adaptation Plan for Agriculture. This project aims to mobilize resources, particularly from the Climate Towards Fund, to support these resilient agricultural initiatives. Beyond sectoral policies, the SAGA 2 project is implementing its activities with the Ministry of Agriculture, Rural Development and Food Production, a key strategic partner.
Le projet SAGA 2 est bien aligné avec les priorités nationales.
The SAGA 2 project is well aligned with national priorities as the actions currently being implemented are inspired by the second generation National Agriculture Investment Program 2025 to 2030.
Également aussi inspiré de nos contributions.
They are also inspired by our third generation nationally determined contributions. Furthermore, they drew on sectoral programs, some of which we have considerable experience with in terms of farmer adoption.
Les agriculteurs. Et donc, à travers ce projet, Ce projet nous permet d'apporter...
This project allows us to provide support for sustainability, as I mentioned, and we are pleased that farmers on the ground are embracing the initiatives implemented by this project.
Aux initiatives qui sont mises en œuvre par ce projet.
After exploring the central role of the Ministries of the Environment and Agriculture in planning and implementing adaptation policies, it's time to head out into the field. In this field school dedicated to organic agriculture, learning alternates between theory and practice. Using a whiteboard, Joro, a facilitator in smart agriculture, explains today's lesson: maintaining a parsley garden.
Si tu n'as pas enlevé les herbes aussi là, ça va faire que la tige là, ça va devenir jaune.
Once the theory is grasped, it's off to the experimental plot. Here, no fewer than 500 parsley birds, carefully aligned and tended, stretch across a quarter of a hectare. To protect them from the scorching sun, the women have ingeniously built shelters using palm leaves supported by bamboo poles. This ensures a good harvest.
Avant notre arrivée, il faut dire que les femmes avec du mal.
Before our arrival, it must be said that the women who were struggling had good production because, since COVID, fertilizer prices have risen sharply. As a result, not all women can afford to buy fertilizer to optimize their production. So with our training, we have enabled the women to make their own fertilizers and biopesticides. They manage to use everything they find around them, such as neem leaves and poultry droppings, to make not only fertilizers, but biopesticides. Market gardening is my only source of income. It is how I'm able to support my children. But since the business is facing the effect of climate change and difficulties in obtaining fertilizer, I no longer had the means to support myself and my children. Now, thanks to the training initiated by SAGA project, I can support myself and pay for my children's education.
Soko Devi m'a appris à lire.
Soko Devi taught me to read, write, and do arithmetic through their literacy classes. When I have money, I write it down. When I sell something, I write it down and calculate my profits. Thank you, Soko Devi. Thank you, Saga too. I hope this project will be expanded so that all women in the village can benefit from it like I have.
Afin que toutes les femmes du village en profitent comme moi.
These practical training sessions for women and girls on innovative and sustainable agricultural techniques are part of the Clean Actresses initiative implemented by Soko Devi. It addresses the economic, social, and climate challenges faced by cocoa-growing communities. Clean Actresses empowers women producers by developing resilient, sustainable, and income-generating food and vegetable farming activities. The practices learned are then replicated and shared within communities, creating a local multiplier effect. Further into the village, the atmosphere is festive. Radiant women welcome us in joyful songs and rhythmic applause. A motto that perfectly illustrates the spirit of this second session focused on the management and governance of local savings and credit unions. 3 managers step forward to unlock the metal box, one after the other. Each holds a key, an ingenious way to secure the collected funds. Inside, a register and individual notebooks. Each member can save up to 5 shares, 1 share being equivalent to 1,000 francs CFA, with some spare change for emergency fund. Before, when you go to someone's house because of money and explain your problem, they won't give you what you need. When you ask your husband, it is not easy. Because of this, my son dropped out of school for 2 years. But thanks to Soko Devi and Saga 2 project, my son at least is in 3rd grade. When we started the AVEC, Village Savings and Loan Association, I earned 20,000 within 2 months. I paid it back and earned 100,000. Now I've paid it back and earned 200,000.
Nous accompagnons des femmes et des jeunes filles au nombre de 167.
We support 167 women and girls so they can set up income-generating activities, market gardens, and cassava farms.
Ces femmes et ces jeunes filles
These women and girls benefit from SOCODEV's support in terms of strengthening technical and entrepreneurial skills to ensure good productivity, sustainable productivity that addresses concerns about climate change.
À la préoccupation sur le changement climatique.
After the cocoa-growing villages, the project is expanding to Boake at the CNRA site in Borobo. The Manioc Plus initiative targets women cassava producers in the Beke region. Alongside the National Garden Center of Agronomic Research and International Development, DEED, the women producers are discovering improved, more resistant cassava varieties and learning how to intercrop cassava with legumes such as cowpeas to restore soil fertility and increase yields.
Cette parcelle a été mise en place en début du mois de septembre.
This plot was established at the beginning of September, and after planting we had practically no rain. We only had 1 or 2 downpours, but despite that, now in the second month, we can already see the cassava well developed and the early cowpeas with pods already formed. So this is a technology we brought to our women farmers in Mbayako area. It combines improved high-yielding, drought-tolerant varieties with the intercropping system, the agriculture technique, and intercropping. This also addresses the problem of soil fertility, management, and land management.
Et également la gestion de l'espace.
The cowpeas, in any case, represent added value for our women. When you consider that, for example, cassava has a long growing cycle of 12 months, so for cowpeas, which have a fairly short growing cycle, this already represents economic value. It also reduces the arduousness of the work. With cowpeas, the operating costs associated with setting up women's plantations will significantly decrease.
Manioc Plus combines practical training, technology transfer, and experimentation in demonstration plots, offering a comprehensive approach to resilient and sustainable agriculture.
On n'a pas la pluie, il pleut pas à temps.
You see, it's sun resistant and grows quickly, and it's very productive too. The way we used to plant it for ourselves here, it wasn't like this. We plant cassava wherever we want, but now we plant it in rows, and then with beans, it can bring us double profit.
Ça peut nous rapporter 2 fois.
I made land available to the women to facilitate the implementation of the SAGA 2 project in the village. I saw that the project was a boon for the villagers. That is why, as village chief, I became involved in the project. I therefore thank all those involved, especially the women.
More than 130 kilometers from the economic capital, Abidjan, the city of 3 waters, better known as Grand Lao, a peninsula nestled between the Tagban Lagoon to the north, the Bandama River to the east, and the Atlantic Ocean to the south. An idyllic setting, but only on the surface, for here, water, the source of life, has become a threat.
On était derrière l'eau. We were behind the water's edge, and one night the sea came and swept everyone away. We crossed over, and then we understand that it was climate change that had created this coastal erosion.
Before the impact of climate change and all of that, in the olden days, there was a lot of fish. At least there was fish because there was mangrove all around the beach. Because of the mangrove, people find a lot of fish. But today, however, this is not the case. For the past few decades, the river mouth has shifted by 1.5 kilometers. With it, the danger has moved closer. Under the influence of climate change, the ocean is eroding the coastline. Every year, 1.6 meters of land disappears, swallowed by the waves. In the heart of the coastal and island areas, the Feminist Climate Action Initiative, implemented by SUCO and Indies Formation, supports women and young people in Indiake, Grand Bassam, Jacquesville, and Grand Lao. In the village of Brafedon, an area with a capacity of 50,000 mangrove trees has been developed, a veritable green campus where young people and women are trained in advanced nursery techniques.
On fait l'ombrayage. Après l'ombrayage, on fait le remplissage du sachet.
We do the initial packing. After packing, we fill the bag. After filling the bag, we move on to bundling. After bundling, we plant the seedlings, meaning we put them in the bag. After we have finished putting the seedlings in the bag, we water them for 4 to 6 months. And after 6 months, we move on the seedlings. Today, we are able to pay the women to bring well-being to the women. And these women are really motivated to support us in what we do because they have seen the impact, so they are really interested. And we also support these women financially.
Et aussi, nous accompagnons ces femmes-là financièrement.
Comme activité, bon, c'est quelque chose qui...
As an activity, it is something that helps us a lot because the bagging is profitable, and at each stage it's profitable, so it helps us a little to contribute at the level of our homes and everything. Right here, we do a lot of awareness raising regarding fishing, the evolution of fishing, improving the living conditions of fishermen and their overall well-being. We also do a lot of awareness raising around the issue of closed seasons, and there are awareness campaigns on that front as well. And as for us women, it's already an advantage to work with men, but to work with an association composed entirely of men. Following the example of the pilot project conducted in Kaolack, Senegal, the project also focuses on local financing for climate change adaptation. The FLAC initiative supports women in the Indiani-Jublin region by combining training and access to financing. In partnership with Crossroads International and the Group of Women of the Third Millennium, GFM3, Village Savings and Loan Association, VSLAs, have access to management tools for their local saving and credit associations.
Chaque semaine, il faut donner de l'argent pour la quête.
Every week, people have to give money for collection, and to be able to fulfill their commitment to the collection, they need to engage in a regenerative income-generating activity. So ANDA, along with the NGO, came several months ago to raise awareness among them so that beyond the collection, they could also consider a regenerative income-generating activity that isn't long-term, one that can bring them money within 45 days to 3 months. And so, in order for ANADA to train them, we found this training site to provide them with training on the use of organic methods for growing market garden crops.
Ils sont venus, nous ont sensibilisés.
They came, they raised our awareness about climate change, about what we can do so that we can truly have enough to eat and something to save at all times. We no longer pay for produce. What we produce is enough for ourselves. And then, when we eat, we can feel its difference. It is different from what we produce.
C'est différent de ce qu'on fait produire.
12 individual or collective agricultural projects in production, livestock farming, and processing have been financed through revolving funds, facilitating the purchase of input equipment and investment in income-generating activities, a concrete approach that strengthens women's economic independence. Thanks to the project, we learned how livestock farming actually works, both in form and substance. When we sell, we will always continue because there is no sharing. It is true that we are operating in the dark, but we are not going to say that this person takes a certain amount, that person takes a certain amount. No, we deduct all the expenses. The profit allows us to invest even more.
On parle du genre. Il faut amener la femme, enlever de sa tête.
We are talking about gender. We need to bring women into the fold. Get rid of the idea from their mind that this is difficult for me. It is reserved for men. It is reserved for this or that. No. When we look at the statistics, today we have 7 births. Of those 7 births, we have 1 man and 6 women. In terms of deaths, we still have 7 deaths per day, 6 men and 1 woman. And if women give up, we cannot do anything. We will face famine. Once we remove this barrier from women's mind, it will lead them to do everything men can do. Beyond the capacity building and community support, the SAGA 2 project places particular emphasis on the use of climatic information, essential in a context of high variability and extreme weather events. In partnership with Sodexem, agroclimatic bulletins are produced and disseminated to support farmers in their agricultural decisions. It's important to understand that even before production began, we went into the fields to gather information about the farmers' needs and what kind of information we could provide for them for the different crops we selected. We chose rice, cassava, and yam in the Bouake region, specifically in Diabo and Botoho. From these, we realized that the information they needed was about rainfall, knowing when to sow, the optimal planting season, and their cropping calendar. That is why, as Sodexer, we are going to develop a bulletin, 3 types of bulletins in fact. The agro-meteorological bulletin for rice, yam, and cassava. A technical and financial partner of the SAGA 2 project since its first phase, Quebec, plays a strategic role in supporting adaptation policies in Francophone countries. During her first field visit, accompanied by the FAO representative, the director of the Quebec office in Abidjan was able to assess the concrete impact of initiatives on communities and highlight Quebec's priorities in Francophone Africa to support adaptation and food security.
Aujourd'hui, on a un groupe de femmes qui produit la fertilizer.
Today we have a group of women producing fertilizer, and I saw that with this fertilizer they are growing vegetables. This is significant contribution to food security.
Deuxièmement, j'ai vu qu'avec nos soutiens sur la base du financement du Government of Quebec.
Secondly, I saw that with our support based on funding from the Quebec government, the women have started selling their agricultural products. I saw many tomatoes that generated a lot of income.
Troisièmement, j'ai vu qu'aujourd'hui, on a j'ai vu un groupe de femmes.
Thirdly, I saw that today we have a group of women involved in the chicken business. This is very important for nutrition. I sincerely thank the Quebec government for its support and funding.
Je suis heureuse d'être présente ici pour pouvoir toucher du doigt.
I am happy to be here to see firsthand and learn about all the excellent practices implemented by the various local stakeholders. These projects are delivering concrete results to communities affected by climate change, particularly women producers facing food insecurity and disruption to the agricultural calendar. The 2 projects we visited are extremely promising in my opinion, especially for agricultural adaptation in Côte d'Ivoire, but also for bilateral cooperation between Quebec and this country. As we saw, Carrefour International supports women by providing guidance and funding for adaptation activities, including training in green entrepreneurship and management. So these are truly concrete initiatives that will strengthen climate adaptation and food security, particularly for women producers. Therefore, I am delighted to be here, and on behalf of the Government of Quebec, I would like to sincerely congratulate all those who contributed to the implementation and success of SAGA 2 here in Côte d'Ivoire.
De l'implantation de SAGA 2 ici en Côte d'Ivoire.
This collaboration between the FAO, the Government of Quebec, NGOs and local communities demonstrates that together it is possible to meet the challenge of climate adaptation. By combining expertise, funding, and local knowledge, the SAGA 2 project is paving the way for sustainable and inclusive solutions to strengthen the resilience of agricultural systems. SAGA 2 is the story of an accelerated adaptation driven by women, young people, and producers who are shaping a more sustainable and resilient future every day.